Steroid use has a long history in the sports world. Athletes everywhere attempt to get the edge over the competition. Baseball, still known as America's pastime, was struggling with labor strife in the early 90s. This led to the disillusionment of fans, which culminated after a strike-shortened season. Then, something amazing happened. Balls started flying out of the ballpark like never before. Monstrous moonshot home runs of over 500 feet were commonplace. The game was officially saved. This mashing culminated in a magical summer in 1998. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were chasing history, looking to break the single-season home run record. These major records were shattered. How did this magic occur? Steroids. A brief history of the MLB policy on steroids. In 1991, Fay Vincent, the then commissioner, banned anabolic steroids. This was after United States Congress made anabolic steroids an illegal drug in 1990. This didn't deter the players, however, because as you can see in 1998, 4 players hit more than 50 home runs. Both Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire broke Roger Maris's single-season home run record of 61. Mark McGwire ended up hitting 70 that season. In 2001, Major League Baseball did start steroid testing, but only in the minor leagues. Finally, in 2002, testing began on a very small scale in the majors. And then finally, in 2005, a congressional hearing was held on steroids in baseball. At these congressional hearings, Commissioner Bud Selig, Donald Fair, the head of the Players Association, and former players and current players met in front of Congress. These players included Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Rafael Palmeiro, Frank Thomas, and Curt Schilling, among others. McGwire said nothing. He essentially said he was not there to talk about the past, while all others vehemently denied steroid use. In a very famous clip, Rafael Palmeiro looked directly at the camera, pointed at the congressman, and said, "Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Rafael Palmeiro, and I'm a professional baseball player. I'll be brief in my remarks today, and let me start by telling you this. I have never used steroids, period." Well, during the 2005 season, we found out that wasn't true. On August 1st, Rafael Palmeiro was suspended for a positive test for Winstrol, a type of anabolic steroid. At the time, he was hitting .286 with 19 home runs at the ripe old age of 40. Rafael Palmeiro also at that time was one of only 5 players to amass 3,000 hits and 500 home runs during his career. He was given a 10-day suspension, which was the first offense punishment at the time by Major League Baseball. He claimed innocence. The only thing he changed from the congressional hearing was that he now said, "I have never intentionally used steroids, period." However, this did reopen the book on steroid use in baseball. So, how will baseball respond? We will answer that question by going to Assistant Commissioner Brian Atkinson for his press conference on August the 15th, 2005. This will be after Rafael Palmeiro came back from his 10-day suspension. Welcome. Unfortunately, I meet with you members of the media and you, Mr. Commissioner, because of a very serious subject. As you all know, baseball has a problem, and a grave one at that. The game has been corrupted by a widespread use of anabolic steroids. Now, since 2000, the league has attempted to work with the Players Union to come up with a proper way to handle this smudge on the game's great history. This season shows with great proof that we have failed. The failed test by Mr. Palmeiro this season and his subsequent suspension show that we have only scratched the surface of the problem. In fact, 8 others were suspended that same day, including Ryan Franklin, pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. Mr. Franklin became the 8th pitcher this season to be suspended for steroids. This shows that hitter and pitcher alike has come under the gun. Now, in 2003 and 2004, 128 positive steroids tests were reported. We have seen a decrease this year, but not sharp enough. The hope is that by 2006, that number can be 0. And that is why I say the end of this season and the off season will be Major League Baseball's line in the sand. Until now, we have been guilty. We have been guilty of loving our game and watching it flourish. And now we must, as any good gardener knows, pull the weeds before it affects our garden. For those of you who don't know, under the current drug testing policy, every major league player is given 1 unannounced test a year and can also be subjected to random tests. Violators, however, are placed in a separate category. The Health Policy Advisor Committee sets up a schedule that ensures that they will be tested at another unannounced date. So far this season, 1,000 drug tests have been administered in the major leagues. There are approximately 1,200 players, and 900 of these have been processed. We would like to be able to say that none of these tests will come back positive, but as we know, that has not been the reality, and this deeply saddens us. We are saddened by the fact, especially by the Palmeiro test, because we have been lied to. Not only did Mr. Palmeiro lie to us in March, but our players have lied to us, and more importantly, to our fans, about just what they are putting into the game. What saddened me even more was that these players are receiving no more than a slap on the wrist. That's why this offseason, 2 things will occur. First, Major League Baseball is looking into hiring an outside party to investigate the full extent steroids has infiltrated the game. They will compile a list of players that will be found guilty, and due punishment may be handed out. Secondly, Donald Fair, head of the Major League Baseball Players Association, will sit down with me and develop a new penalty system. I have the outline for you here today. Much like our beloved game, our hitters will know that 3 strikes and you are out. This proposed system will have a 50-game suspension if you have 1 positive test. Should you get a second positive test, you will be suspended 100 games. And should you unfortunately get a 3rd positive test, you will have a life suspension. You will be expulsed from the game. That being said, we will also be stepping up our testing policy. Random drug tests will occur, and there will be 3 scheduled drug tests per year. No longer will we turn a blind eye to the biggest problem facing America's pastime. The weeds in our garden must be pulled. As I have said, we are deeply saddened by the fact that our fans have been lied to not only by the players, but by us as an organization. As I've mentioned, we will fight to make everything right and to expel steroids from the game. The report should be published within a year, and hopefully this new 3 strikes and you're out rule will be implemented for the 2006 season. The time for renewal, the time for rebirth is now. Let the game flourish and bloom weed-free. Thank you.